On the morning of February 18th, 34-year-old Amanda Chen stood in the kitchen of her suburban home in Naperville, Illinois, staring at a credit card statement she had just retrieved from the mailbox. Her husband, 36-year-old Derek Chen, was upstairs in the shower, preparing for another day at his job as a senior financial analyst for a consulting firm in downtown Chicago. The couple had been married for 8 years and had a 6-year-old daughter named Sophie. By all external measures, their life appeared stable and comfortable. They owned a 4-bedroom colonial in a well-regarded school district, drove matching Lexus sedans, and took annual vacations to destinations like Cancun and Orlando. But the statement Amanda held in her hands told a different story. Among the usual charges for gas, groceries, and restaurants, one entry stood out: a $3,847 charge to Royal Caribbean International, dated January 10, 20. The description included a booking reference number and the words Atlantis Events. Amanda had never heard of Atlantis Events, and she knew for certain that they had not booked any cruise together. Derek had told her he was attending a work conference in Miami during the second week of January, an annual event he claimed was mandatory for senior staff. He had been gone for 6 days, from January 12th through January 17th, and had returned home with stories about networking dinners, corporate presentations, and late-night strategy sessions. Amanda opened her laptop and searched for Atlantis Events. Within seconds, she understood. The company specialized in organizing luxury cruises exclusively for gay and bisexual men, featuring entertainment, themed parties, and excursions designed for LGBTQ+ travelers. The cruise Derek had apparently attended departed from Fort Lauderdale on January 12th and returned on January 17th, visiting stops in the Caribbean. Amanda sat motionless, processing the implications. Her husband had not been at a work conference. He had been on a gay cruise. Amanda Chen did not confront her husband immediately. According to her later statements to friends and eventually to law enforcement, she spent the next several hours in a state of shock, alternating between disbelief and anger. When Derek came downstairs that morning, dressed in a suit and tie, Amanda said nothing. She watched him pour coffee, kiss their daughter goodbye, and leave for work as though nothing had changed. But everything had changed. Over the next 3 days, Amanda conducted a methodical investigation into her husband's activities. She accessed their shared computer and reviewed the browser history, which Derek had failed to clear completely. She found searches for gay dating applications, LGBTQ+ travel forums, and websites offering advice for men living in the closet. She discovered that Derek had created profiles on 2 different dating apps under a pseudonym, listing himself as single and available. The profiles included recent photographs taken in their home, with identifying features like family photos carefully cropped out. Amanda also reviewed their joint bank accounts and credit card statements going back 2 years. She identified a pattern of unexplained charges: hotel rooms booked in Chicago on nights when Derek claimed to be working late, recurring monthly subscriptions to gay-oriented streaming services, and multiple purchases from adult retailers specializing in products for men. In total, Amanda estimated that Derek had spent over $15,000 on activities related to his secret life, all funded through their joint finances. On February 21st, 2020, Amanda finally confronted Derek. She waited until their daughter was asleep, then presented him with printed copies of the credit card statements, screenshots from the dating apps, and the browser history. According to Amanda's account, Derek initially denied everything, claiming the charges were fraudulent and that someone must have stolen his identity. When Amanda showed him the photographs from his dating profiles, Derek's story changed. He admitted to exploring his sexuality, but insisted he had never physically cheated on her. He claimed the cruise had been a one-time experiment, a way to understand himself better, and that nothing inappropriate had occurred. Amanda did not believe him. She demanded that Derek leave the house immediately. Derek refused, stating that he had as much right to the home as she did, and that he would not abandon his daughter. The argument escalated, with both parties raising their voices. Eventually, Derek agreed to sleep in the guest room while they figured out next steps. Amanda made it clear that she intended to file for divorce. Derek, now defensive and angry, told her that if she pursued a divorce, he would fight for full custody of Sophie and ensure that Amanda received as little as possible in the settlement. In the weeks following the confrontation, Amanda Chen's emotional state deteriorated rapidly. Friends who spoke with her during this period described her as consumed by feelings of betrayal, humiliation, and rage. She told confidants that she felt Derek had stolen 8 years of her life, deceived her into marriage, and used her as a cover for his true identity. She expressed particular anger over the fact that Derek had spent their joint savings on his secret activities while she had been working full-time and managing most of the household and childcare responsibilities. Before we dive deeper, let us know in the comments where you're watching from. We'd love to hear from you. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you never miss any of our upcoming videos. During this period, Amanda began researching divorce law in Illinois. She learned that the state followed equitable distribution principles, meaning marital assets would be divided fairly but not necessarily equally. She also discovered that Illinois courts prioritized the best interests of the child in custody, determinations, and that judges generally favored arrangements allowing both parents to remain involved in the child's life, unless one parent was deemed unfit. Amanda became fixated on the idea that Derek would be awarded joint custody or significant visitation rights, and that she would be forced to co-parent with someone she now viewed as a liar and fraud. It was during this research that Amanda began to formulate a plan. According to digital evidence later recovered by investigators, Amanda started exploring ways to ensure that Derek would be unable to challenge her in custody proceedings or claim a significant portion of their assets. She joined online forums where individuals discussed contentious divorces, read articles about false allegations in family court, and consumed content about how to document a spouse's unfitness as a parent. By early March 20, Amanda's plan had crystallized. She would not simply divorce Derek and move on. She would destroy his reputation, ensure he lost his job, and create a situation in which he would have no choice but to accept her terms. Her strategy involved exposing Derek's sexuality to his employer, his family, and their social circle in a way that would cause maximum damage. She would also make allegations that would call his character into question and potentially result in criminal charges. Amanda began documenting everything. She took photographs of Derek's dating profiles, saved all their text message exchanges, and recorded conversations without his knowledge. Illinois is a two-party consent state, meaning it is illegal to record conversations without the consent of all parties involved. But Amanda either did not know this or did not care. She also started creating a false narrative, telling friends and family members that Derek had been verbally abusive, that she feared for her safety, and that she suspected he was using drugs. None of these allegations were true. Friends who knew Derek described him as mild-mannered and conflict-averse, and there was no evidence of substance abuse or domestic violence. But Amanda was constructing a story that would support her ultimate goal, ensuring that Derek lost everything. On March 15, 20, Amanda Chen took the first concrete step in her plan. She contacted the Human Resources Department at Derek's employer, a mid-sized financial consulting firm in Chicago, and sent an anonymous email containing screenshots of Derek's profiles on gay dating apps. The email claimed that Derek had been using company time and resources to solicit sexual encounters, and that his behavior constituted a violation of the firm's code of conduct. The email also included links to Derek's social media accounts and suggested that his personal conduct reflected poorly on the company's values. Within 48 hours, Derek was called into a meeting with his supervisor and a representative from Human Resources. He was presented with the screenshots and asked to explain. Derek, humiliated and caught off guard, admitted that the profiles were his, but denied using company resources for personal purposes. He explained that he was going through a difficult personal situation and that his private life should not impact his employment. The HR representative informed him that the company would be conducting an investigation and that he was being placed on administrative leave pending the outcome. Derek immediately suspected that Amanda had been behind the email. He confronted her that evening, accusing her of sabotaging his career. Amanda denied involvement, but made no effort to hide her satisfaction. She told Derek that he deserved whatever consequences came his way, and that she would continue to expose him until he agreed to her terms for the divorce. Over the next 2 weeks, Amanda escalated her campaign. She created a fake social media account and used it to send messages to Derek's family members, including his parents and his younger brother, outing him and providing details about the gay cruise and the dating profiles. She also contacted several of their mutual friends, sharing the same information under the guise of seeking emotional support. The result was that Derek's sexuality, which he had not been ready to disclose, became widely known within his personal and professional circles. Derek's employer concluded its investigation in early April 20 and determined that while Derek had not used company resources inappropriately, the public nature of the allegations and the attention they had brought to the firm made his continued employment untenable. Derek was terminated on April 3, 20. He was given 2 weeks of severance pay and told that the separation would be classified as voluntary resignation to avoid damaging his future employment prospects. But Amanda was not finished. On April 10, 20, she filed for an emergency order of protection against Derek, claiming that he had threatened her and that she feared for her safety and the safety of their daughter. In her petition, Amanda alleged that Derek had become increasingly erratic and volatile since she discovered his infidelity, that he had made veiled threats about harming her if she pursued a divorce, and that she had witnessed him acting in ways that suggested possible drug use. These allegations were false. Text messages and emails between Amanda and Derek showed no evidence of threats, and Derek had no history of violence or substance abuse. However, the court granted a temporary order of protection based on Amanda's sworn statement, requiring Derek to move out of the family home immediately and prohibiting him from having contact with Amanda or Sophie except through supervised visitation. Derek Chen complied with the order of protection and moved into a budget extended stay hotel in a neighboring suburb. He hired an attorney to contest the allegations and to begin divorce proceedings. His attorney advised him that the order of protection, even if based on false claims, would be difficult to overturn without substantial evidence, and that the existence of the order would likely impact custody determinations. Derek was devastated. He had lost his job, been forced out of his home, and was now facing the possibility of losing regular access to his daughter. He reached out to friends and family for support, but many had distanced themselves after learning about his sexuality and the circumstances surrounding his separation from Amanda. His parents, who were conservative and religious, expressed disappointment and refused to offer financial assistance. Derek's savings, which had already been depleted by legal fees, were quickly running out. Meanwhile, Amanda appeared to be thriving. She had successfully removed Derek from the house, secured temporary sole custody of Sophie, and positioned herself as the victim in the dissolution of their marriage. She continued working at her job as a marketing manager for a healthcare company and maintained her normal routines. To outsiders, she seemed to be handling the situation with grace and strength. But Amanda's plan had one critical flaw. She had underestimated Derek's determination to fight back, and she had left a digital trail that would ultimately expose her actions. In late April 20, Derek's attorney filed a motion to dissolve the order of protection, arguing that Amanda's allegations were fabricated and that Derek posed no threat to her or their daughter. As part of this motion, Derek's attorney subpoenaed Amanda's phone records, email accounts, and social media activity. Digital forensic analysts were hired to examine the devices and accounts. What they discovered was damning. The analysts found evidence that Amanda had created the anonymous email account used to contact Derek's employer, had operated the fake social media profile used to out Derek to his family, and had sent messages to herself from Derek's phone while he was asleep in order to create the appearance of threatening communications. They also found drafts of the Order of Protection petition in which Amanda had workshopped different versions of her allegations, testing which language would be most likely to result in the order being granted. Perhaps most significantly, the analysts recovered the illegal recordings Amanda had made of her conversations with Derek. In one recording, Amanda could be heard explicitly stating that she intended to ruin Derek's life and ensure that he never saw his daughter again. In another, she discussed her plan with a friend, laughing about how easy it had been to manipulate the court system. Armed with this evidence, Derek's attorney presented the findings to the court during a hearing on May 20, 20. The judge reviewed the digital forensic report, listened to excerpts of the recordings, and examined the documentation, showing that Amanda had fabricated evidence and made false statements under oath. The judge immediately dissolved the order of protection and admonished Amanda for abusing the legal system. The judge also ordered that custody be temporarily shifted to Derek while a full investigation into Amanda's conduct was undertaken. But the consequences for Amanda did not end there. The judge referred the matter to the DuPage County State's Attorney's Office for potential criminal prosecution. Prosecutors opened an investigation into Amanda's actions, focusing on several potential charges: perjury for making false statements in her order of protection petition, eavesdropping for illegally recording conversations in violation of Illinois's two-party consent law, cyberstalking for creating fake accounts to harass Derek, and obstruction of justice for fabricating evidence. If you've been following along, hit the like button and let me know in the comments what you think happened here. Over the next several weeks, prosecutors built their case. They interviewed Derek, his attorney, the digital forensic analysts, and several of Amanda's friends to whom she had disclosed her plans. They also obtained records from Derek's former employer, confirming that the anonymous email had been sent from an IP address traced to Amanda's home. By late June 20, prosecutors had compiled sufficient evidence to file formal charges. On July 8, 2020, Amanda Chen was arrested at her workplace and charged with 3 felony counts: perjury, eavesdropping, and obstruction of justice. The cyberstalking allegations were included as part of the obstruction charge. Amanda was taken into custody, processed at the DuPage County Jail, and released on $25,000 bond. She was ordered to surrender her passport and to have no contact with Derek except through attorneys. The arrest made local news. Amanda's employer placed her on unpaid leave pending the outcome of the criminal case. Friends and family members who had initially supported Amanda during the divorce began to distance themselves as details of her scheme became public. Amanda hired a criminal defense attorney who advised her to avoid speaking to the media or posting on social media about the case. Amanda Chen's trial began in early 2021 at the DuPage County Courthouse in Wheaton, Illinois. The prosecution's case was straightforward and supported by extensive digital evidence. Prosecutors argued that Amanda had engaged in a calculated campaign to destroy her husband's life after discovering his sexuality, and that she had weaponized the legal system to achieve her goals. During opening statements, the lead prosecutor outlined the timeline of Amanda's actions, from the initial discovery of Derek's cruise to the filing of the false order of protection petition. The prosecutor emphasized that while Amanda had every right to be angry about Derek's deception, she had crossed legal and ethical boundaries by fabricating evidence, making false allegations, and committing perjury. The prosecution called multiple witnesses. Derek testified about the breakdown of their marriage, Amanda's confrontations with him, and the devastating impact of losing his job and being separated from his daughter. He acknowledged that he had been dishonest about his sexuality, but maintained that he had never threatened Amanda or given her any reason to fear for her safety. The digital forensic analyst testified about the evidence recovered from Amanda's devices, including the drafts of the order of protection petition, the recordings, and the metadata, showing that Amanda had operated the anonymous email account and fake social media profile. The analyst walked the jury through the process of tracing the digital activity back to Amanda and explained how the evidence demonstrated premeditation and intent. Derek's former employer's HR representative testified about receiving the anonymous email and the subsequent investigation that led to Derek's termination. Several of Amanda's friends testified about conversations in which Amanda had discussed her plans to ruin Derek, with one friend recounting that Amanda had said, "He's going to regret ever lying to me." Amanda's defense attorney attempted to argue that Amanda had acted out of genuine fear and emotional distress, and that her actions, while perhaps misguided, did not rise to the level of criminal conduct. The attorney portrayed Amanda as a woman who had been betrayed and humiliated, and who had simply been trying to protect herself and her daughter. However, this narrative was undermined by the recordings in which Amanda explicitly discussed her intent to destroy Derek's reputation and ensure he lost custody. Amanda did not testify in her own defense, a decision her attorney later described as strategic, given the strength of the evidence against her. The jury deliberated for less than 6 hours before returning guilty verdicts on all 3 counts: perjury, eavesdropping, and obstruction of justice. Amanda showed no visible emotion as the verdicts were read, though observers noted that her hands were shaking. On March 15, 2021, exactly 1 year after Amanda had sent the anonymous email to Derek's employer, she appeared before the court for sentencing. Under Illinois law, perjury and obstruction of justice are both Class 3 felonies, punishable by 2 to 5 years in prison. Eavesdropping in violation of the two-party consent law is a Class 4 felony, punishable by 1 to 3 years in prison. Before imposing sentence, the judge allowed both Derek and Amanda to make statements. Derek spoke briefly, describing the pain of being separated from his daughter during the months the false order of protection was in place, the difficulty of rebuilding his career after being terminated, and the emotional toll of having his private life exposed in such a public and humiliating way. He did not ask for a specific sentence, but stated that he hoped Amanda would be held accountable for her actions. Amanda also addressed the court. She apologized to Derek and to their daughter, acknowledging that her actions had been driven by anger and a desire for revenge. She stated that she had made terrible decisions and that she regretted the pain she had caused. However, she also attempted to minimize her culpability, suggesting that Derek's deception had pushed her to act irrationally. The judge was unmoved. In delivering the sentence, the judge stated that Amanda's actions represented a serious abuse of the legal system and had caused substantial harm not only to Derek, but also to their daughter, who had been used as a pawn in Amanda's scheme. The judge noted that Amanda had shown a high degree of premeditation and had persisted in her false allegations, even after it became clear that Derek posed no threat. Amanda was sentenced to 3 years in the Illinois Department of Corrections for the perjury and obstruction charges to be served concurrently, and 1 year for the eavesdropping charge to be served consecutively, for a total of 4 years. She was also ordered to pay restitution to Derek for his legal fees and lost wages, totaling approximately $78,000. Amanda was taken into custody immediately following sentencing. She was transported to Logan Correctional Center, a women's prison in Lincoln, Illinois. Derek was granted full legal and physical custody of Sophie, with Amanda allowed supervised visitation only after her release from prison. Derek has since rebuilt his life. He found new employment as a financial analyst at a different firm in Chicago, though he took a significant pay cut. He has been open with friends and family about his sexuality and has begun dating. According to public records, he remains the primary custodian of Sophie, who is now in middle school. Derek has not remarried. Amanda served 3 years of her 4-year sentence and was released in early 24 with credit for good behavior. She is currently living with her parents in a suburb of Chicago and working in a part-time administrative position. Her relationship with Sophie remains strained. Supervised visitation occurred during Amanda's first year out of prison, but Sophie, now a teenager, has expressed reluctance to maintain regular contact. Family court records indicate that Sophie's therapist has recommended that visitation be based on Sophie's comfort level rather than a fixed schedule. The case of Amanda Chen serves as a stark reminder of the dangers of weaponizing the legal system for personal vengeance. While Derek's decision to hide his sexuality and deceive Amanda was undoubtedly hurtful and destructive to their marriage, Amanda's response crossed legal and ethical boundaries that resulted in criminal charges and imprisonment. Her actions not only destroyed her own life, but also inflicted lasting harm on her daughter, who lost years of normal parenting during a critical period of her development. Legal experts who reviewed the case noted that false allegations in family court proceedings are relatively rare, but can have devastating consequences when they occur. The case prompted discussions in Illinois legal circles about the need for stronger penalties for individuals who make false statements in order of protection, petitions, and about the importance of thorough investigation before such orders are granted. For Derek, the experience was transformative in ways both painful and ultimately liberating. Friends who have remained close to him report that while he regrets the deception that led to the breakdown of his marriage, he has found peace in living openly and authentically. He has become an advocate for LGBTQ+ individuals navigating coming out later in life, and has spoken at support groups about the importance of honesty, even when it is difficult. The lasting question in this case is whether Amanda's revenge achieved anything beyond her own destruction. Derek's career recovered, his relationship with his daughter strengthened, and he found a path toward happiness. Amanda, by contrast, lost her freedom, her career, and her relationship with her child. In seeking to punish Derek for his betrayal, she ultimately punished herself far more severely. Thank you for watching. If you found this story compelling, please like and subscribe for more cases like this. Let us know in the comments what you think about this case and where you're watching from today.